You remember what you said about the Leafs in your last video? I said there's a lot of time off between Stanley Cup final games, which means the Leafs are probably going to do something stupid. Did you read Kiprios' tweet? I frequent the Twitter. When are you going to start seeing the pattern here? Woo! Are you just going to get hammered? Get me a toaster. Magic Angel Robot from Winnipeg!
What the hell are you talking about?
This team is ruining my life! Never a dull moment in Leafland, which is a good thing. Possibly. Maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of scared. First of all, or should I say first overall, there was a trade rumor, I'd say last week, that the Leafs are going to go for the first overall pick. They're going to get it from Florida. The rumor was the Leafs are going to send the 8th overall pick in this year's draft, Nazem Kadri, and Captain Dion Phaneuf to the Panthers for the first overall pick, and Jovocop, Ed Jovanovski. I wrote an article about that, link below, about how I think that is bullshit. And look, a lot of people were getting on Howard Berger for reporting it like, oh, well, it's this guy and his reputation. Look, the guy might have a legitimate rumor. It's possible that this might happen. He heard this from a great source, and it's gonna happen. It's super close. But for me, and I say this in the article, it might be a case of the boy who cried first overall pick. Every year, somebody says the Leafs are gonna get the first overall pick somehow. Unless they're picking like in the high teens or 20s or something like last year. I found a great one from 2008 where the Leafs had the 7th pick. Damian Cox is like, if the Leafs want to trade up, they should trade Nick Antropov. And I was like, oh, hindsight, you're fun. But the reason we are gathered here today is not that rumor. Nope. Nick Kiprios tweeting that the Leafs are shopping all but 4 of their players. And those players are Jonathan Bernier. Well, that makes sense, yeah. Morgan Riley. Sure, great young player. Phil Kessel. The Thrill, why not? And Tyler Bozak. Neat. And in Leaf circles everywhere, this was obviously a very hot topic. We talked about it on the Panago Pizza Steve Dangle podcast, because why wouldn't we? I was losing my mind, a lot of people losing their mind. Let's look at what he said. So, it sounds like the Leafs are actively shopping all but 4 players. A lot of glaring names omitted from that 4-player list. I don't know who the most glaring is. For me, probably James Van Riemsdyk. Now, the Leafs got Phil Kessel. He's going to be a first-line winger for years to come. James Van Riemsdyk, also a first-line winger for years to come. Had a big lockout year, an even bigger follow-up year. He's emerging. He's bursting onto the scene. And he got fleeced in the contract that he signed with the Flyers because he's making $4.25 million for the next 4 seasons. If Van Riemsdyk was a free agent tomorrow, what would he get? I'm thinking 5 would be cheap. He might even be able to get 6. Look at the payday Thomas Vanek is about to get. How much better is Tomic Vanek than James Van Riemsdyk? You can make the argument that he's better. I don't think he's much better. You can make the argument that JVR is just as good, if not better. So what I'm getting at with all of this is, are the Leafs high? You're actively shopping James Van Riemsdyk? Why would you do that? Well, I have a theory. So like I said, James Van Riemsdyk, first-line player, maybe second-line player on some of the better teams, signed to one of the most cap-friendly contracts in the entire league, and he's still young, he ain't old, entering his prime. What would be the point of trading James Van Riemsdyk? And the answer is this: extraordinarily high value. Most players as good as James Van Riemsdyk are making more money than James Van Riemsdyk, and a lot of them are older too. If the Leafs are looking to make some moves, and apparently they are, he's a huge bargaining chip. Joffrey Lupul, not on that list. That's a big name. $5.25 million for another 4 years. You got some contract to move there, bud. David Clarkson, good luck with that. Tim Gleason, do you have the Oilers on speed dial yet? You know, if you like Mark Fraser, I got someone else I can offer. Oh, yeah, he's very cheap, very cheap. And those are just a few of the names. Phaneuf, not on that list, but we've heard him in plenty of trade rumors already. Nazem Kadri, not on that list. What else is new? Jake Gardiner, Cody Franzen, who needs defensemen? And here's the thing, I've disagreed with the Leafs' mentality, their thought process, I guess their ideology over at least the last 2 years. And while I disagree with parts of what they're doing now, here's why it makes sense. You've got Tim Lewicki, who, for all intents and purposes, is brand new here. You've got Brendan Shanahan on board, who is actually brand new here. New faces usually means a little bit of tinkering. The Leafs have 12 unrestricted free agents throughout the organization. Just to name a few: Jay McClement, Nikolai Kulemin, Mason Raymond, Dave Boland. And on top of those 12 guys, they've got 11 restricted free agents. In that group, you got Carter Ashton, Cody Franzen, Jake Gardiner, James Reimer. There's 23 guys who need to be signed. Or not signed. If you want to seriously change the look of your organization, this is the perfect opportunity. You're picking 8th overall at the draft, and a huge chunk of your team is unsigned. Now, that doesn't mean I think they should go out and do crazy stuff like trade JVR and then sign Dave Bolin to 19 years. But if I were Brendan Shanahan, I would look at what's in front of me and go, all right, let's do this. And even though Dave Notice hasn't been the Leafs GM for too long, he was assistant GM for a while. You know he had this offseason circled on his calendar for a long time, like, yep, right there. And I get it, and I don't mind it. Maybe it'll end up being good. It's exciting, that's for sure. Exciting like a roller coaster without a harness with this team, which doesn't sound like a bad idea given how they played down the stretch. But with the Burke era, I'm tired of the rebuilding. So please don't tear this down to the ground, because I don't think I can wait that long. Oh, but hey, I've waited this long. What I hope this is a retooling. The Leafs are gonna make some moves that'll probably make them younger, and that's fine, but younger usually means worse. But the possibilities are so open, they could get a little older too, more experience, maybe do some lateral moves, trade a forward who's 26 for a defenseman who's 26, and all this crazy stuff. And it might be a sign that they're finally ready to give some young guys a shot. Well, okay, Jake Gardiner and Nazem Kadri aren't very good examples. I mean, they got played a lot last year, but they're basically getting kicked out of town. Anyway, on the back end, maybe the likes of a Stuart Percy, a Matt Finn, Andrew McWilliam, Petter Granberg, who just sounds like a robot, and I love that. Maybe they'll let Carter Ashton play more than 4 seconds a game. Jerry D'Amigo could become a full-time NHLer. Peter Holland, finally. And hey, there's more names too. So the question is, what do you think they're gonna do? Because something tells me this draft, oh damn, this is finna be a trade. This is finna be a few trades, enough trades. Who knows, maybe they get the 1st overall pick. Oh, no, I'm that guy, aren't I? Hey, at this point, if it makes them better, I'm for it. That's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Some links down below. If you want internet as fast as mine, go to techsavvy.com, and back to the playoffs. Maybe next year I won't have to say and back to the playoffs, because the Leafs will be in them. With new Leaf captain Jonathan Toews, of course.